Awesome. Well, welcome home, everyone. Isn't it so nice to be here? Nice to be here at this place where we get reminded of the truth that we sometimes forget while we're out there in the world. To be here in this company of each other, where people embrace us and love us open-heartedly and accept us in this group of people. To be in this place where we are cared about and where we are valued and where people want the absolute best for us and the best for our lives, where people see the good in us and see the potential in us. It's so nice to be in that kind of energy. That's half the reason we come here. You know, in this New Thought movement, they say that people come for the message, but they stay for the community. As human beings, we have this deepest need to be seen and to belong. We have a need to be seen and to belong, and that's what happens here. We are seen and we belong and we matter. And we're seen as valuable, and we are accepted. Hooves and halos. And so in that belonging and in that acceptance, we feel safe. We feel safe to let our walls down. We feel safe to be vulnerable. We feel safe to show up as who we are. We don't have to hide and only show parts of ourselves. We get to be open-hearted while we're here, and we get to let our spirits come out. We get to come here with each other and let our spirits come out, which what happens is it's like we get to test the waters here of letting our spirit shine in this place that is really safe, where no one's going to stomp us back down. So we test the waters here, and that enables us then to go out in the world and be a greater presence and be in the world in a greater way than if we hadn't come here. Here in this small group of people, we get to be wide open and let our spirits shine, and how good that feels. We create that for each other. That's not something I created. We create that safe space and this place of love and warmth and acceptance and embrace for each other. And so in the book From Beginning to End by Robert Fulghum, he speaks of this. He says we need each other, and so we come to this place to work and dance and laugh and cry and think. We call ourselves a religious community. Not because this place is in of itself holy ground, but because what we do here and say here and are here make it so. That's what we're doing here. So we create that safe space for each other here so that we can explore our spirituality. So we can discover our own spirits. So we can practice being that presence of love with each other in a safe place. And it's not just here on Sundays. It happens when we go to movie night, and it'll happen at the concert this weekend, and it happens when we take classes, and it happens when we go bowling. Have you ever been bowling with this group? You know, the first time I went bowling, I'd gone bowling once in my life when I was in Girl Scouts. And I was able at that point to throw the ball, and it went halfway down the lane and then stopped. So was not good at bowling. I'm still not good at bowling. This group cheers you on and congratulates you and the high fives and awesome every time you do something good and loves you up. It is so much fun and so safe and so loving and supportive and encouraging. That's what we do here all the time for each other. What happens is it's kind of like training wheels. We practice that with each other, and it's so easy, so then we can go out in the world and be more loving with the people that aren't quite as easy to love. And so I read something this week to me that speaks also of this community and what it's like. It says, when you see geese flying along in a V formation, you might consider what science has discovered as to why they fly that way. Each bird flaps its wings. It creates an uplift for the bird immediately following it. By flying in V formation, the whole flock adds at least 71% greater flying range than if the bird flew on its own. People who have a sense of community can get where they are going more quickly and easily because they are traveling on the thrust of one another. When a goose falls out of formation, it suddenly feels the drag and resistance of trying to go it alone and quickly gets back into the formation to take advantage of the lifting power of the bird in front. When the head goose gets tired, it rotates back and another goose flies to point. When we are in a community with those who are headed in the same direction, we have the lifting power of those before us. Geese honk from behind to encourage those up front to keep up their speed. In community, we are supported and encouraged by the people around us. We are behind you, and we honk as support for you when you're doing things in your life. And finally, and this is important, when a goose gets sick or is wounded by gunshot and falls out of formation, 2 other geese fall out with the goose and follow it down to lend help and protection. They stay with the fallen goose until it is able to fly or until it dies. And only then do they launch out on their own with another formation to catch up with their group. Isn't that what it feels like to be in spiritual community here? To be like that, in support of one another. What else happens in this particular community is we see each other's inherent wholeness. We come from love and we come from acceptance and we come from a sense of centeredness when we interact with each other. And what happens then is when life gets challenging and we're out there in the world, because that has been modeled for us and we see people do that and we're able to do that with each other, we say, oh yes, I can find my way back to center. Oh yes, I can come from love. I can come from my own wholeness because I got to practice it here and it was modeled for me here, so I can indeed do that. It's a roadmap and a reminder for us when we're out there in the world. And when we can't see the good in ourselves, other people see it for us. And when we can't see our own wholeness, other people in this community see it for us. What happens then is that fans the flame of our own goodness, of our own wholeness, so that we can begin to see it again. Robert Fulghum also tells a story in this book that I really like that says, as with other important things, I learned this in kindergarten. Or I should say, I finally understood it by being with little children. When my first son was in kindergarten, I was a parent volunteer who visited the school once a week to teach folk songs to the children. Singing came between nap time and snack time. Regularly, I was invited to stay after singing and join the class for milk and cookies. I gladly stayed. Not because I was particularly hungry, but because I enjoyed watching the children carry out this ordinary task with such extraordinary care. Since learning community cooperation is an essential part of kindergarten, the children took turns bringing cookies from home. Each day, every child had an essential job in the sharing. 2 children set the table with napkins and cups. The others arranged chairs. Others went to the refrigerator for cartons of milk, while 2 more fetched the cookies from the cupboard and arranged them neatly on plates. One child was responsible for placing something in the middle of the table to talk about during the snack. Anything the child wished, but something the others might appreciate as well. Show and tell. For half the class, their job of the day was being good guests, saying, yes, please, I would like to have some milk, and thank you very much, and how nice the table looks, an important task. When all were served, everyone was expected to sit quietly for a moment, with hands folded in lap, until the teacher said, "Let's share." Each, quote, host took a cookie off his plate, broke it in half, and gave it to a guest before eating the other half himself. During this snack time, they discussed the think about object in the center of the table, a book, a goldfish in a bowl, a toy, whatever. After the cookies and milk were consumed, the children who had played guests for the day cleaned up and put everything away before they all went out to play. The children did this efficiently and unselfconsciously. It was their routine. I, too, took the event seriously. It was a high point of my week. A lovely, sane moment with people, never mind our difference in age. The finest, simplest elements of civilization at work. It served as an example of the way daily habits become sacred rites. For me, it was communion. The sacraments are defined by the church as, quote, outward and visible signs of an inward and spiritual grace. Cookies and milk for those children became a sacrament for me. Grace was clearly present. It was a ritual reminder that civilization depends on sharing resources in a just and humane fashion. This is not kid stuff. This is the sacrament of community, the visible sign of the presence of God, the visible outpicturing of grace itself, this sacrament of community when we are here with each other. And so the title of my talk today is Root, Root, Root for the Home Team. I'm talking about being here in the company of each other in this community and how that supports us in our growth and how it supports our expansion and it supports us setting down deep spiritual roots. And if you don't know, that's what this picture represents on the wall. It represents us setting down deep spiritual roots so that we can spread our branches out in the world and be that beneficial presence. And after service today, we're having a new member ceremony. And I don't know if you know, every one of those colors is somebody's thumbprint who has added their consciousness to this community to enable us to become who we are. And so the new members will add their thumbprints to that picture today. And so the title of my talk is Root, Root, Root for the Home Team, but what should really be is Root, Root, Root from the home team, because we support each other so well like that. And so in the Science of Mind textbook, Ernest Holmes says, in the inner sanctuary of our own nature, hidden perhaps from objective gaze, nestles the seed of perfection. That's what we're discovering here. That seed that lives inside of us. That seed of the divine, that seed of perfection and of beauty and of love and of good. And so when you have a seed, you nurture it by watering it. And we water those seeds for each other through our love and acceptance. We feed those seeds for each other by each other believing in each other and by seeing the good in each other. That enables us to see that good and to shine our light then out in the world. And we shine the light on that truth when we are here through the readings and through the message and through the music so that it fans that flame of that light inside of us and we can see it more easily ourselves. We shine the light on the truth that each and every single one of you are an incarnation of that divine presence. That each and every single one of you is born out of love and are an outpicturing of that love of God here clothed in human form. We shine the light on the truth that peace is at the center of your being and that wholeness is the very essence of who you are, and that power is always yours, and that you are the beauty of the divine. We shine the light on that. Those words of truth remind you of that which is already inside of you, but we sometimes forget. We shine the light so that we can remember, and then we can take that out into the world. So that you can remember that you are the divine clothed in human form. So that you can remember your own divine expression at the center of your being. In turn, those seeds get watered and those roots start growing deeply. And then what happens, you start growing those roots and you start spreading out those branches. Then when you go out into the world to share your gifts, since you've grown those deeper roots, you don't get toppled over when a wind comes by. When that wind of people being difficult in your life, or the wind of your boss yelling at you, or your neighbor being unkind to you, or people at work gossiping about you. Because in order to withstand those winds, you have to have roots. Otherwise, you just get blown over when it happens, and you don't know how to get yourself back up. So when a seed is planted, you water it and you feed it and you protect it from the heat and you protect it from the harsh winds and the scorching heat because it's tender when it's young. It's tender and it's just starting out. You keep doing that and watering it until it's strong enough to stand more firmly on its own. That's what we're doing here, is we're watering those seeds. And if you look around you and who's in this room, you will see people who are seasoned travelers of this spiritual path. People who have deep roots. The practitioners and the ministers who have been doing this for a long time. And you also see newbies who are just beginning this spiritual path, who are little tender seedlings with little tiny roots. And you see everything in between in different phases. And together, all of us create this beautiful landscape, this beautiful picture, this landscape of who we are as spiritual beings, flowering and coming forth and growing and spreading out our branches. You know, there aren't very many structures in this world that support our spirits, that support our growth and our inner being and our hearts and our expansion. There's lots of structures out there in the world, economic structures and political structures and governing structures and structures that create laws so that we have order and that we're safe in the world. But this one, this structure is entirely here to support your expansion and to support your spirit coming forward and to support your flourishing, to support the expansion of your own spirit and the discovery of your own essence. In Buddhism, they call that Sangha. In the book Leap Before You Look, Arjuna Ardha speaks of Sangha. He says, Vietnamese Zen teacher Thich Nhat Hanh said recently, these days, the Sangha, the spiritual community, is the Buddha. Many other people share this view, that the enlightened Messiah who has come to save humanity today is not a person, but a collective awakening. The most reliable teacher is friends meeting friends. When you find a group of friends who care about the truth, who care about each other, and who share a similar depth of maturity, and humor about themselves and each other, you have found your Sangha. Value it deeply, for it is the boat that will carry you safely across the swamps of imagined separation. Give yourself completely to such a gathering and follow faithfully the guidance that it offers in consensus. This is the Sangha. And so together, we support each other and assist each other in awakening to our greater yet to be, to our own divinity. And so my invitation to you this week is to avail yourself to the support in this room. And if you're having a hard time, or you're stuck, or you can't see your way out of a problem that you're having in your life, Talk with a practitioner. Talk with a minister. Let them sit down and pray with you. Let them support you. Let them help you see your way out of the thing that you are stuck in. And avail yourself to the love and the care and the support and the friendship that is in this room. And continue to see the highest and the best and the wholeness in each other. And when someone's claiming victimhood, don't buy into their victimhood. If someone has fallen into a hole, they don't need you to jump in the hole with them. There's a whole world out there that'll do that for you. In here, when someone's fallen into a hole, throw them a rope. That means love them and support them and encourage them and say something like, I know you have inside of you what it takes to make it through this. You have what it takes. How can I support you in moving forward in your life? What can I do to help? But don't jump in with them and go, oh my God, it's so awful. The whole world out there will do that with you. In The Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes says, we shall see that what we need is not some greater power, but a greater consciousness, a deeper realization of life, a more sublime concept of being, a more intimate concept of an already indwelling God. We are all here discovering that and supporting each other in discovering that. So pray and meditate and do spiritual practice and bask in the love of this room. And then, like a baby bird, when you are ready to take flight out there in the world, when you are ready to take your spirit and your love and your care and your compassion and your creativity and your strength and your power into the world, you will be able to do that because the world needs you. And so blessings to all of you on this path of awakening to your own spiritual magnificence and on this path of Sangha, being that love and support and encouragement for each other. Thank you for that, and blessings to all of you. And so I invite you to join me in an affirmative prayer. And so we turn our attention to that truth and to that fact that, yes, indeed, we are immersed in that light. For that light of God is everywhere present. It is the one and only presence and one and only power, one and only beingness, one and only life that there is. And that it is living itself out within us and through us and as us. That we walk in this light, surrounded by this light, and immersed in this light, and filled with this light. And so today we recognize that presence, that infinite one that is everywhere, and we recognize it at the very center of our being as our own wholeness and as our own love and peace and beauty and good. Recognizing that that innermost God and the outermost God is one and the same. And so today we step into this community as that light, and we step out into this world as that light, being a beneficial presence to each other and being a beneficial presence to this world. How good it is to be awake and aware of that. How good it is to be walking this path. How good it is to be giving way, to be a conduit for that magnificence, that love, that which is boundless and endless, beginningless and endless. That I am presence. And so I give thanks for this understanding, and I give thanks for this life, and I give thanks for the ability to shine our own light, which is the light of the divine. And I just bless all of this. And I say thank you, God, for this, for the boundless good. And I say, and so it is.
What a great family.